Let's get a raise of hands. What do you think is more difficult? Making a successful video game movie or sitting through an entire video game movie? Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 things video game movies always mess up. For this list, we'll be looking at 10 recurring issues that video game movies just can't seem to get right. In today's video, we'll be counting down from the slightly annoying to the downright treasonous. We'll also be attaching examples of these cinematic blunders for any brave viewers that wish to see their favorite games transformed into cinematic mishaps. Let's get it on.
If you like what you're hearing, be sure to check out the full song at the link below.
Number 10. Character personalities.
Just seen you behind with your payments.
Terry, look, I'll catch up on the payments, I promise.
The personality of the main protagonist always seems to be a little off from how they're portrayed in their video game. Using Lara Croft from the 2008 rendition of Tomb Raider and Max Payne from the 2008 film titled Max Payne, both characters stand in stark contrast to their video game counterparts.
I'm sorry. I'm just not that kind of Croft.
Lara Croft comes off as more of a street-dwelling, troubled young adult rather than a gun-toting, treasure-hunting, shoot-'em-up badass. And the dark noir sombre comic book-style renegade hero out for revenge Max Payne of the video game is replaced by a juiced-up, walking-talking shootout with bland dialogue and gunfights that verge on parody.
They're gonna send somebody who doesn't know you and won't care about your side of the story.
I didn't kill her, so I don't need a side.
Number 9. Secondary character development.
Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Deadliest of enemies, but slaves under my power.
The next blunder that video game movies seem to always trip up on is secondary character development. Now, as you know, just as any game is more than the main character, movies too are more than just their main protagonist.
Dr. Dalsim, how is your research today?
The same. Warped. Corrupted.
The film Mortal Kombat, Annihilation, and Street Fighter both show us what happens to a film when little to no effort is put into developing any characters other than the main protagonists.
You killed my older brother. So why did you help us? I helped her.
In their respective games, both franchises have well-developed backstories for all their characters. This failure to develop accompanying cast leaves these films feeling very two-dimensional and hollow.
For you, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life.
Number 8. Plot adaptation from game to film.
Sounds like a trap.
It is not.
Could be.
It is not.
Could be.
It is not.
What do you think?
This is an obvious blunder that can be seen again and again in countless video game movies. Simply put, the task of fitting an entire game's worth of lore into a 90-minute film is a skill movie studios have yet to master. You have to look no further than the movie Warcraft to see this blunder in action.
We will build a new portal, and when it is complete, we will bring through all of the Horde.
The arrival of orcs into Azeroth is a monumental moment in the game's history that falls short when adapted into a feature-length film. One of the main gripes fans had with the film was that in an attempt to adapt the story for both lifelong fans and new viewers, much of the grit and brutality of the early Horde and Alliance conflicts had to be left out.
What are we gonna do about... What is his name?
Khadgar, sorry.
Number 7. Character design. Now, it goes without saying that character design is a crucial aspect of any given film. Video game movies present the opportunity for gamers to see their favorite character transported from their TV or computer monitor onto the big screen. Unfortunately, though, when we look at films like Sonic the Hedgehog or Mortal Kombat Annihilation, their take on character design border on downright comedic.
SFPD!
Meow?
Luckily for Sonic, the criticism that followed his character design seen in the trailer brought about a redesign. Unluckily for many other video game films, no such redesigns were had. Just look at Nemesis. He's way too short. Number 6. Sticking to the main story.
I'll take a waterbed, a jacuzzi, and I'm gonna rent me a porno.
It's almost comical how often a video game's plot is disregarded when adapted to film and replaced with some souped-up Hollywood version. Obviously, Resident Evil is the most famous example, but it's not the worst. That honor belongs to Blood Rain.
Can I see your teeth?
For those who don't know Blood Rain, the game saw the player control a Nazi-hunting half-vampire named Rain on her search for an ancient relic. Rain's adventures were set in Argentina in the 1930s and became a cult classic that many gamers still speak highly about to this day. On the other hand, Blood Rain the movie and its Hollywood adapted plot are set in a different time, with different enemies, and is an unrecognizable shell of its namesake.
And together we will stop this madness and bring peace to these lands, your beloved father, etc., etc.
Number 5. Taking bizarre liberties.
Behold the mighty ostrich!
The big screen has always been a place to experiment with new ideas and unique concepts. When these new ideas and concepts pay off, it's great, but when they don't, you're probably watching a video game movie. You have to look no farther than the Super Mario Bros. Film, Wing Commander, or the Resident Evil franchise to see what happens when directors decide to take on strange liberties in their movie-making process. Like, for some reason, Super Mario Bros. Is set in a dystopian city sprawling with dinosaur mutant hybrids. The Kilrathi and Wing Commander are changed from anthropomorphic felines to weird lizard-like things. And lastly, throughout the Resident Evil franchise, Alice has zero mention in any of the Resident Evil games. Number 4. Misrepresenting the genre. You'd think that people behind green-lighting video game movies would make sure to keep the genre as close to the game as they possibly can. Transforming a horror game into a horror film can't be that hard, can it? Well, apparently it is. Looking again at the Resident Evil franchise, we have a horror game turned into an action thriller devoid of anything resembling a horror film. House of the Dead, another horror-themed game, is represented on the big screen as a beach rave party gone wrong when zombies decide to crash the party. And lastly, though not totally a horror game, Doom is transformed from a gore-filled shoot-'em-up into a sci-fi action rescue mission, then turns into a poor man's Apocalypse Now as the commander leading a team of Marines loses his sanity.
We have to stop anything from getting to the surface. By any means necessary.
Number 3. Relating to gamer culture.
I can't believe you can do that. Comes from sitting on my butt all day playing video games, that's why.
Taking what gamers love about their favorite games and replicating that onto the big screen shouldn't be that difficult. Video games are all about conquering a challenge and imagining oneself as the epic protagonist. More often than not, Hollywood tries to force in too many film cliches, and we end up with a watered-down video game film flop. The films Rampage and Doom display this blunder for us perfectly. Rampage is a game about destroying cities and eating people with giant monsters. This is what gamers loved about the game. Rampage the movie strays and gives us The Rock saving the day and protecting a misunderstood gorilla.
Yeah, opposite of laugh.
Doom, on the other hand, has a lengthy first-person sequence that comes off feeling like an underwhelming fan service. Number 2. Developing the main character's backstory.
I wanted you to understand the gravity of the situation.
Few things are more important than the main character in any game or film. Part of what makes video games so appealing is the ability to really fall in love with playing out the protagonist's story. When you have to put hours and hours of your time into a game, the backstory of the character starts to feel like your backstory too. When trying to develop the same amount of depth, films always fall short. The movie Hitman is a prime example of this lack of main character development. The game itself features many hours of character building, and the player really gets to understand who Agent 47 is. The film, on the other hand, replaces development with hollow dialogue and over-the-top violence.
If you ever again interfere with me like that,
I won't.
are we clear?
Yeah.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Casting.
You're alive. Too bad you will die.
Choosing people to represent the various characters throughout a film is no doubt a very difficult task. Whether it's the protagonists, side characters, or choosing the perfect antagonist to terrorize all the others, video game movies just can't seem to nail down their casting.
As long as the portal remains open, your world becomes my world.
In Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, the film saw criticism for casting Jake Gyllenhaal and not choosing an actor of Iranian descent. In the film Max Payne, critics thought both Mark Wahlberg and Mila Kunis felt miscast and didn't suit their respective roles. We cannot forget about Chris Klein as Charlie Nash, delivering probably the most bizarre performance ever seen in a video game movie.
You just inherited a big problem.
And for Alone in the Dark, 5 simple words: Tara Reid as a scientist. Let that spin around in your head for a minute.
We have artifacts coming in from all around the world.
Do you agree with our picks? Let us know in the comments. And hey, if you like the music playing right now, be sure to check out the full song right here.